So I chose to do the Bantu people of South Africa. The Bantu people location. The Bantu people originally lived in the western parts of Africa, which is now known as Nigeria and Cameroon. This dates back to about 4,000 years. I have it circled on the map for you to show you where they used to live. The Bantu people of southern Africa are believed to have migrated to southern Africa over 2,000 years ago. Their iron weaponry and pastoralist way of life helped them take over the original people of this area. So I showed in the diagram that all of the orange area is whereabouts the Bantu people migrated to. So the Bantu language. The Bantu languages are spoken all over Africa. There are a total of 500 Bantu languages, which are part of the Benue Congo languages. Many different groups of people use the different Bantu languages, whether it be their first language or their second language. It's just a common language that's used in Africa, but there are a bunch of different versions of it, and everyone's a little bit different. Most of these 500 different Bantu languages have a few general words that all mean the same within the different language. So, for example, the word farming and animals have the same words within most of the languages. That way it's just easier for the groups to understand what they're talking about if they don't necessarily speak the exact dialect of the Bantu languages. The Bantu languages were spoken east and south, which is currently Nigeria. So migration. The Bantu people were able to come upon domestic yams and bananas, which helped them grow in population. They also started raising goats, which helped the Bantu people expand in their population as well. Before domestic yams and bananas, the Bantu people survived off of what they could hunt and gather from around the world, which wasn't really much. Since they had little food within the communities, not many children would survive. When they were able to grow as many bananas and yams as they wanted, there was no fear of starving, so the family sizes became much larger. The children were all had a lot of nutrition and stuff, and so there was no worry about death or starving, I guess. This then started the journey to move south, east, and east within Africa. So the post-European settlement. In the 1700s, the Boers people came across the land which was occupied by the Bantu. Conflict occurred between the two groups. The new white people moved into the area, used extreme force against the Bantu people, and was just taking over their land. So the culture. Bantu people were not territorial like the white Europeans. They were very group orientated. As long as the land was available, they never really saw a border between different lands. It was all kind of a shared space. The rivers and mountains helped illustrate what lands were theirs and what lands were not theirs. So they never actually had a direct map showing which area was directly theirs, but they did know just off of hand which area they had and which other areas other people had, and they kind of just kept with that. So there was many different sizes of communities and groups, some ranging from like 7 people in like a community all the way up to like 500 or even into the thousands. Ranging from less to 100 to possibly over 1,000 individuals was mostly what you would get. You would not get more over 2,000 people. A household that lived within the same valley or hill had a sub-chief as well as their main chief looking after the whole group. Chiefs are handed down within families, so the oldest son would inherit his father's owned or what he owned and what he took care of. Although the chief was in charge, he could be outvoted by the whole group or his surrounding support persons, so he was never actually fully in charge. It was a group of individuals who helped make decisions alongside. So food. Food was mostly whatever they could hunt and gather and produce in the beginning. Women were usually um, in charge of agriculture, and the men took the responsibilities of hunting. The Bantu people were very particular on what they consumed. They would not consume different types of meat due to their taboos. So, the lifestyle. Men are the head of the household and often had many wives. The Bantu people had very distinct roles between males and females. Age also played a major part in responsibilities within the communities. Okay, so their faith. Magic was a very strong belief within the Bantu tribes. They believed that there is a good influence and a bad influence. So, for example, eating certain foods would cause a bad influence on their lives. So, they would choose to stay away from those foods. So, like I said, back when foods, they had certain taboos that they would stay away from. That included like snakes and different other living creatures. So, they would kind of just like avoid it at all costs, and they would not eat those things, even if they were starving, because it was part of their faith. Okay, so looking at the history of the Bantu people, you can definitely see a lot of similarities between the indigenous people and um, the indigenous people of Canada. A lot of the same things happened when the Europeans came to this new land. Their lifestyles was altered, and everything was kind of taken away from them. So, noticing that, you can see how the white people did come back over to Africa. Um, and they did take over the land that the Bantu people had. They also enslaved a lot of the black people of the Bantu tribes and forced them to go into slavery overseas and over back in Europe. They just altogether did not have um, a great experience, exactly like the Indigenous people of Canada did. Um, but yeah, I think a big part of learning about this tribe was how white people have had such a big influence on everything that's happened in our world. They've taken so much away from many tribes and haven't given them a chance to recreate themselves. The original Bantu tribe did go extinct because of the white people coming over and kind of like eliminating it, trying to change their ways and trying to force their white views upon these people. I think it was overall a hard topic for um, these people to understand what was going on. They didn't really know why these people were coming over and just thinking that they had charge and taking over their land, which was a big similarity in the First Nations of Canada. In class, we learned that it wasn't right. It never will be, and it's really hard to apologize for something that is so wrong in our world. We always just pushed it to a side. We never really paid attention to it, but it happens to Indigenous people all over our world, and it still is happening today. Yeah, thank you. I left my sources here for everyone to see. If there's any questions, like feel free to text me or message me. Thank you for listening.